thanks all the speakers sharing their life story with us. We also collected quite a few questions from the audience. So this is our payback time. I like to propose a guideline. I know they always have a lot of feedback and comment. Preferably, we like to hear the feedback and comment in the format of some examples, like what you've seen, people has done that way, or you did that yourself, so that it will be more vivid to the people around, that we have an example to refer to and probably learn that more easily. All right. So if you have more questions as you come up with that, please enter into the filling of the form, and we'll receive that and we'll work on that. So here goes with the first question. As we know, very often people talk about glass ceiling. Here we have investors, we have executives, and you all went, and also Lisa teaching the employee development and HR. So from your perspective, you always started your career just the same as everyone else. But after you climb up to a higher level, what do you see as the obvious glass ceiling that, in fact, very often is what we didn't see, what we didn't do. We limit ourselves. Or in the other way around, what kind of colleagues you like to promote? What kind of people, personality, trait, demonstrated capability, attitude that you value most if you're their superior? All right? Su-Hong, maybe you go first, because we like to see if in China, with the cultural difference, would that be different from the rest of us? I know we have a lot of first generation immigrants. That will be a great contrast for all the audience, I believe. Yes, Su-Hong, please.
Yeah, thanks. So I just answered in the simple. The most valuable attributes we look at for the senior staff, I think, is for me is the most important, is the learning agility. So you keep learning, push yourself out of the comfort zone to acquire the knowledge, to adapt to the new environment.
How do you observe that they are learning, or they keep coming up with new ideas? Do they reflect that to you, or you just observe that they always have some good ideas?
Not necessarily good ideas, to be honest. Not many good ideas out there. I think is the one way to observe is what is the latest, right? The newest book, the last book he's reading, right? He was reading, and through the discussion, it depends if it's the people you are not familiar with. It's an interview, right? So you always ask a lot of questions about whether he or she still have the learning agility. If you know him or her very well, so you can observe from the on the daily basis. Yeah.
I see. How about you, Reza? Do you agree, or you have new things to add from your observation of so many companies?
So, if you take a look at the people that they want to start a company, for sure it's different from the people that you want to hire. I want to say exactly opposite. So we try to invest in the people that they're unemployable, means they're too wild to work for anyone. That's the character that you want to start a company. But obviously you don't want that person to work for you, because they're not going to listen to anything.
Now, Li Ming, okay. You are like Su-Hong, built a successful company as a co-founder. I didn't realize you were that wild when you were young.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think the one thing I look at the most, what I call is leadership. And the leadership meaning that you can work with other people, you can influence other people. And so I want to take a few minutes to describe two examples. Number one is a lot of people really limit themselves by imposing a glass ceiling, especially for the engineers coming from first generation immigrations. A lot of people in my company, right, they feel that I don't know English that well. I'm afraid to talk to other people. So they bury themselves in the corner. And then they feel that they work so hard, but there's a glass ceiling. But no, I mean, most of the American friends told me that they knew these guys, you guys don't have good English, but they are patient. They say, hey, we never take your language as your limitation. But a lot of people just impose limitation themselves. So you need to be open and you need to work with everyone. The second thing I want to say is that the most important factor, back to my 3 points, right? Number 3 is really that you need to open up. You need to talk to people because the most important thing to me is collaboration, right? So the company growing up from 2 people to 2,000 people, and we try to break the career path into, you could be going through the management track, you could be going through the technology track. So you could be an architect, you could be an engineer. You don't need to manage people, but you know there's no difference. If you are the architect, you're going to work with product, you're going to work with everyone, you're going to understand the market, you're going to understand the customers, so you know what are you creating is appropriate. So that at the end, to be successful, no matter what, you need to break out your comfort zone and you need to work with people, understand people, and I think, and then eventually what I conclude will be the leadership. That's what we are looking for.
I'll jump to Lisa. With your experience on the HR side, do you agree with their comment there?
Sorry, Jimmy, you got skipped.
It's
You're
okay.
good?
I have nothing
I want to
add
leave him
anyway.
to the later.
He's got a plan. I know he does. I know Larry has a plan. Yeah, so I think I agree with what they're saying. I've hired hundreds of employees myself as a leader and helped hire thousands of employees. And when it comes down to it, my experience is if you have the technical skills are the same, what's really going to differentiate and make the best hire is the person with the right attitude and aptitude for learning, right? So you can have the degree and you can have the experience technically, but if you are able to have the right attitude, to be able to embrace whatever's going on and then to bring your best forward, that's really the key. And somebody earlier said something about the right manager. I think it was you, Ali Reza, about the right manager, taking you under your wing. It's you're also looking for that right fit, right? Because that's really what brings the best out in you is when you have that right fit. And if I can say one last thing, Larry, I'd say on a glass ceiling is being the only female on this panel, right? The only non-engineer, I think.
You also have one who was mistaken as a female.
I'm sorry?
Yes,
Oh,
you
yes,
do.
you were the young Chinese girl ball player, right? But I want to say, there's this whole concept of glass ceiling for women, right, in technology. And I just want to encourage every woman in here to, ignore that. Do your best, bring your best self forward, and you'll be sitting up here on the panel, too. When you're at your best, bringing your best forward, there's no glass ceiling.
Along this line
figure
of
it out.
question, I do actually have a question for Rich and Lisa. You guys have been senior management for, to me, as a traditional U.S. company more than companies founded by first-generation immigrants. I hope you don't mind. We, as Chinese, usually say Indian engineers help each other. That's why they grow up and go up together, and there are so many CEOs. But Chinese often fight against each other. From your perspective, do you see that, or what will your advice to our local Chinese Institute of Engineers, bunch of engineers, be?
I've worked with lots of Chinese as well as Indian engineers, and I don't know if I've seen a cultural difference per se. I tend to frankly look at people as individuals, but you hit on a really crucial point. In people used to ask, about the culture. I think culture is so critical, and there's corporate culture, but then even within a work group, there's a culture that is related to the corporate culture, but can be set by the manager of that. And I often refer to, I want team ego. It's not about me, it's about us. We want to succeed as a team, whether it's an engineering team or whether it's the whole corporation. And you have to have some ego to get out of bed and to work so hard, right? You've got to have something that motivates you. But when people start getting personal ego, like it's my idea versus her idea and my idea is better, that's unhealthy. If we're trying to get the best idea for the team, for the company to move ahead, I think that's most crucial. I was going to make one more comment on that.
Yeah.
So the other related comment I would make is, I talked about the game and, playing the game and what your goals are. So as a leader and as a manager, what I want to do is help my team achieve their goals, right? And too many managers are focused on themselves or focused just on the corporate goal, we have to ship this product. But I want to sit down with my engineers and say, where do you want to be in 2 years and 5 years? Do you want to be an engineer? Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to move into marketing, product management, which a lot of engineers do because they have the technical background, but they want some customer exposure? Well, if I can give them the exposures and experiences to help them achieve their goals, they're going to help me achieve my goals as well. So I'm gaining by giving, and that I think is a key part of the team culture you need to have.
So Rich, you've been very successful climbing the ladders, and also very successful as a CEO to bring Atheros from the basically C stage to pre-IPO. Is that your secret sauce, pretty much?
I think it is. I think it's about culture. It really is. It's about culture and all the aspects. I mean, I gave a couple of dimensions of it. Others are who you hire. Mm-hmm. You have to hire people consistent with your culture. I'll give you an anecdote from Atheros. I mean, we were a semiconductor company, for those who don't know it, and we needed to hire a filter designer in the engineering team. And the guys from Stanford and Berkeley on our team came, there was this guy, graduated 10 years ago. We know him, he's been out here. He is the best filter designer we've ever seen. We got to hire him. And I met with the guy, and he wanted a vice president title as an individual contributor. And it was obvious that he had this big ego. And I went back to the team, I said, we're not going to hire him. Even though he's this brilliant, engineer, he thought he was probably even smarter than he was. And it was not consistent with our culture. So we decided not to hire him. And I think it was the right decision. We hired somebody else, and it all worked out fine. So I think those are the key areas, yeah.
Yeah. So Jimmy, I leave you to the last because your personal experience is quite unique. With your unique experience, how would you comment on all the observation and experience? Anything else you like to add from your really hard experience? Because today certainly is very different anywhere in the US from 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Well, I think the comments that have been made about collaboration, about holding your ego in check, I think those are the people that I, through my experience, have been able to work best with. Because I've seen all kinds of personalities, and being a venture capitalist, there are certain personalities that don't show through before you invest, but then later on show through when you're at the board meeting, and then how the CEOs and founders treat their own people. And so I think from my experience, a lot of people actually ask me, what do you look for when you actually hire for your team in the venture business? And so, obviously, like Lisa said, if you have the skill sets, which I would attribute to, if you understand a particular industry well, if you actually have built up through experience with good judgment. Sometimes that is not something, you can be the best technology person, but you may not have good judgment. You have to be able to make decisions based on not all the facts before you. But I think a lot does come to sort of the personality part. Are these individuals that you're going to be hiring ones that are team players, help each other, learn something and share it with the group. Those are the people I think, you know, they may have limitations in certain areas, but if you got a good enough team, you know how to leverage the strengths of certain individuals. So.
We have, including myself, 3 VCs here. Alireza, you interview so many companies, look at all so many CEOs. It used to be, years ago, there's this hard-working, geeky engineer who founded a company, and then right before IPO, company will replace the CEO, put him aside as CTO, and find someone else to be CFO. But nowadays, do you see the similar trend? And when you look at the CEO, actually, I trust that Jimmy also has similar feeling. I will look at this guy's previous cultural background is affecting his presentation today. We do see that all the time. But is that a common trait that you see? Entrepreneurs have to break out of their own culture that are more successful, be able to absorb new elements into their company, or it's the one that just look like what they are? But later on, you may want to answer, when you go back to China, in China, there are these, when I first went to China, same year, 2004, everyone will ask me, 你从哪儿来的? I would answer, I'm from Silicon Valley, grew up in Taiwan, so on and so forth. Later on, I understood Chinese will ask you, 你从哪儿来? 北京来的, 上海来的. They try to put you into some bin. So as a senior manager in China, what do you see when you hire people? If I may circle the question like this, maybe start from Alireza.
So when you see a company, obviously, we asked what's their business. I 100%, because as I mentioned, it's about the people that we invest in. But if you have a recent grad with right ego, we call it cockiness, it's cocky enough to run the company to the sky, but the business is not the business they have experience about, maybe that person is not the right person to do it. Means they come, they are recent grad of Stanford, Berkeley, but the business is a B2B business, enterprise. I don't see that person can sit the other side of the table, sign a deal with big CEO of enterprise. But sometimes they say, oh, there's a small version of it, a micro version of it is a SaaS business model, okay? You sit behind your PC, behind your laptop, you set it on internet with some SEO. Based on that, you can say, okay, if this person is the right person, is smart enough, or this business is something that the person can execute or not. And this is why most of B2C successful companies are young, first-time entrepreneurs, because they hide behind the laptop. And the address of the company doesn't say how old, and they surround themselves with advisors that they can tell them how we can build next Google, how we can build next Facebook. But the business model is main factor after liking the person. And beside that, no one may share this one, no one may say, but I will say that one. Your chemistry with the person that you want to invest should be matched. If you don't like each other, it's not gonna work. You cannot sacrifice that. Because you can divorce your wife, you can divorce your husband, you can fire your employee, but you cannot fire your investor. And if you don't get along, that's going to be a long 7 years of hell that you see each other and it's not going to work. But those are the factors that you factor in.
Yeah, so generally my experience with founders and personalities and skill sets, you know, again, the comment I made before, you can never tell whether a founder can grow into certain roles. They may be great during the first phase where technology needs to be built out, and they're fantastic during that period, but they may not be able to grow in terms of managing a company that continues to hire individuals and deal with the outside to do business development. We have, you know, at the very beginning when we invested in the 2 companies I mentioned during my talk, iRobot and Harmonix Music, you know, we made mistakes along the way. Some VCs may, you know, not have as much patience with the founders and just say, okay, we need to replace. But, you know, with iRobot, we came up with a intelligent doll that.
Our focus is in the culture.
The culture, okay.
Glass
So-
ceiling, that's the
Okay,
focus.
well.
Not
glass ceiling,
iRobot.
Okay. Okay, well, the culture is very important. Okay, glass ceiling. So when we invest in companies in the U.S., to me, again, if you're a Chinese entrepreneur, if you're an Indian entrepreneur, from my perspective, there's no glass ceiling. From a venture perspective, I'm not running a giant company, and I don't have to be beholden to a board that is making decisions where I disagree. Right?
Because it's really hard to answer every question we have, so I'm trying to, there's some questions related to what you invest as a venture capitalist, what technology trend, and there's a big chunk that's related to glass ceiling, but also people are considering whether they want to move back to China. So maybe you can address, as a representative here, about culture for people here moving back to China, whether it'll be.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So, when the time in 2004, 2005, I returned to China, the good thing at that time is, first of all, the competition is not that fierce. And we started with to see business. It's kind of an online business. And we also doing kind of like a lifestyle, kind of the thing, started with the lifestyle. So it is okay. And we as returnee, so we still have a very strong connect in China.
But you mentioned you have 4 or 6 founders, all Shanghainese. First tier city, that's the only thing you understood, right? So you started still with your own people.
Yeah, that's because if you focus on only the lifestyle part of the business, it is fine, right? But when you do the transaction, right? When you do the whole transaction deal, you need to cover the whole country. That's sort of the shortcomings for the composition of the founders. But what I'm trying to say is, at that time, I think we are lucky, right? So you start with the business model to see it's you haven't been outside of the country for a very long time, so it's okay. But for the past few years, right, the key thing is if you start with the business, it's not very high-tech oriented. For example, like AI-oriented, technology-oriented kind of a business, right? And you start in China, will be, as a returnee, will be very difficult because you're not very familiar with the China landscape, the market landscape. You don't know the consumer how to feel, right? So that will be, I would think it's very, very difficult. But if you start with some, we have some company very focused on the AI technology and the voice recognition, speech AI technology to help the young kids to learn English. I think those kind of type business is okay. But if you start like mass market, to do a mass market consumer type of business, it will become very challenging because you have to know the market very well. So, so it's in terms of the returnee, you have to think about what is your advantage, right? What kind of leverage you have if you want to return to China to start your own business. Yeah, that's very, very important.
I still owe airtime to Li Ming and Lisa. If you guys have anything to want to add along this line of discussion. Lisa? Thank you.
We heard a lot of touching experience here and there, but the audience also are still very curious about decision making. Like, how do you know you should move on to the next phase of your career or handle your family's situation? And also, how do you handle the stress? Okay. I know everyone could be different. Some people ask, do you think some people are born better handling the stress, or there's some way that you can learn, maybe pick up a hobby or something? So I think the issue really is that, does the panelists, anyone like to start sharing how you see it's time to move on, branching out to from what you've been doing, maybe doing very successfully?
Okay, sure. I think as I described in my story, right? Sometimes a sign from the heaven. You're doing something, and then suddenly you realize that there's usually a big gap between the expectation, imagination, and reality, right? Once you get into reality, so that's why we always need to adjust to the reality. But I think mostly it's by your genetic, right? I mean, you're very outgoing, you're very positive, and then that's a good thing. But however, the other half is by learning, right? So when I was in a very difficult situation, in the family situation, and I had to make decision, and I figured out a way to comfort myself. Basically, I always look at the glass. I say, hey, it's half full, right? And I don't compare to other people. I've been thinking that I love to play golf. I sucks, but I'm so happy I hit a good one, and then I feel so happy that I'm making progress. So that's what I need to tell everyone, that focus on what you want and be flexible. But once you make the decision, and just look forward, and because I think that's a very important discipline. Once you have that one, and you always have future opportunity, because once you have this aptitude, I think this is the number one for the entrepreneur, right? You're going to embrace failures. You learn from failures, and that's part of the life, and that's kind of the training we all need to have.
Li Ming's situation is very different from your situation, right? Because when you were 12 years old, you already had $100 in your pocket because you made it yourself, of course. And when you decided to go back to spend more time with family, you have already been a general manager of a public company and had one other company who went public and sold it, right? So Rich, your situation is very different from that of Li Ming's. Maybe between the two of you, if Lisa can also interject, how does one, if I have not made it yet and I have some family situation, what do I do? It's different type of luxury one owns and have. Yeah, maybe Rich can, and Li Ming, you can supplement later, and Lisa, if you could.
I've thought about that many times. I mean, we were very blessed to be in the situation that I could step aside. I do think, though, that even many large corporations in particular have policies where you can step back, and they will support you if you have family situations. And the hard part is we're all type A personalities here in Silicon Valley. We want to get ahead. We're playing the game, and we see the moves ahead. And sometimes, to long run win the game, you have to take a step back. You have to take a step to the side and take a little different path than the one you've been laser focused on. And so although I've been blessed, I do see that if you don't have the financial means to just step aside entirely, you still have to play for the long game, and that means maybe making sacrifices in the short term. So think about that.
So I too, I took 3 breaks while I was at Synopsys. So I was there 20 years. So I took 3 different breaks, and the first break was not really on purpose. Like, I resigned, and then they said, oh, no, what are you doing? Because I thought I knew it was time to go. And I was reading the tea leaves because I was in charge of corporate training at the time, and training gets cut usually, and the budget had sunk. So they said, no, let's just leverage your strength somewhere else. So I stayed. And I took a break. The other 2 breaks I had to do with more burnout, and it was because I wasn't taking advantage of the programs that were available to me, and as the leader, I didn't want to let anybody down, so I kept going and kept going. And you guys know I lost my car. So I do believe that companies, especially in Silicon Valley, my experience is there are plenty of programs to help you step back for family care. I had an aging mother. I took time to take care of her as she passed on. I had my daughter. I took the maternity leave. So I took advantage of those breaks, but there was a mental game for me too. Like, what if what if they move on without me? What if they don't need my work anymore? What if, things happen while I'm gone? And so I always stayed plugged in. And I don't know if that was right or wrong, because it added to its own stress, but I did take advantage of them, and they are there for a reason. And the companies put them there because life happens. So I would definitely encourage anyone, if you're at a company that has benefits, to take that time to do that when you need to.
Thanks. I think Li Ming definitely have a different perspective
Yeah.
because his company was a startup, doesn't
Yes.
have all the policies.
Yeah, so I have that's why I have a lot to share. So when the time's over, just let me know. So the first thing is that what I found is that I have a lot of friends who all try to go to the startup company, and one of the guys told me that, you know, I want to make it big. I sacrifice my family because once I bring the company public, I don't need to work. Okay, all this guy fail. And the successful guy is the one thinking that, like Rich was saying, right? This is a game. We are entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. We continue to work on progress, and then it's a lifestyle. You fail, you just keep trying. So the secret here is, number one, you need to take care of yourself and your family first. Because you don't take care of your family, and then you're not going to be happy, and if you're not happy, you're not going to get other people to help you. Other people not liking you, you're not going to get friends. And the second one, coming back to the core of my decision making, is that I think it's very useful for me to lower my expectations. Okay, because in doing that, I remember I need to reevaluate two things. I mean, one is that what's happiness? How can I be happy? The second one is that what's success? I mean, success is not to bring a company to public and making a lot of money. It's doing something you think is worthwhile, right? So that's why I changed my goal. I say, you know, when I have no money and I have a lot of friends, we all drinking the beers, and then especially in military training, we're so poor, and we're still very happy. But I look at my friends, they make a lot of money, but they're not happier. So I say, hey, you know, I don't want to have a lot of money, but not happy. So therefore I say, if I can take care of my family, take care of my kids, I will be very happy. And I don't need money to be happy. So therefore, when you're not falling into a slave of money and material needs, that's how you can make tough decisions. Because then you realize that your family, your friends, those are very important. Once you take care of the important items, and you'll be amazed the rest will follow.
Maybe, Larry, if you don't mind. Shu Hong, if you can follow up, I know there are a lot of entrepreneurs here think about going back to China to start their own company by leaving their families here. I think maybe some of your colleagues do that too. Do you have any advice for them?
I think it's don't do that. We do have a lot of colleagues is back from the Silicon Valley, and definitely they brought their families with them. It's always with your family, right? I totally agree with Dr. Hu's comment. So you have to taking care of yourself, taking care of your family. That's very, very important. That's how you can survive all the challenges, right? Always be together. That's very, very important. Yeah.
Here's another question. And also, I think we all observed that frequently. For example, at a conference, international conferences, we often notice that people of very similar backgrounds, say from the same company or ethnic background or speaking the same foreign languages besides English, will gather together. Even at Plug and Play, very often I notice that at lunchtime, even though, for example, I don't go after other Asians, they'll come after me. So I just wonder, in this very diversified environment, especially Silicon Valley, what would be your advice to especially the new immigrants, even some people who may have been here for long, to overcome that barrier? I think quite a few of you mentioned that. But would there be some good trick you can advise them to heat and to always do something, remind them something can be done to really integrate into this diversified environment? Yes.
So I would suggest, and this applies to so many things, not just ethnicity
Yes.
is force yourself out of your comfort zone. You know, if you're an engineer, I don't care what ethnicity you are, go talk to the marketing guys, right? I mean, just force yourself out of your comfort zone, you know, and that just cuts across everything, including ethnicity. If you're Chinese, go talk to the European, you know, ancestry folks, and if you're or to go talk to an Indian, but just get out of your comfort zone. That is how you grow, in all dimensions.
I totally agree with what you just said, Rich, and I would add the mindset for me, like even coming here, right? I made sure I could say hello to as many people as possible to connect, and I assumed that people want to connect. Now, that's an assumption, but it sure makes it much easier for me to walk up to someone and say hello than if I have the mindset of, oh yeah, they don't want to talk to me or they're too busy or closed. 9 times out of 10, if you walk up with a smile, I mean, let's all try really quick. Let's put a smile. It changes your energy. Look, I love your laugh, Jimmy. It changes your energy, right? So assuming that people want to connect, and if you're at a networking event, that's part of it, and then just smile and say hi. I mean, it can literally be that simple, and it makes such a difference.
And for the organizers, it would be nice if you, at the very beginning with your troops in play, if you see the groups separated and segregated, try to go in there, try to introduce those folks from one group to another group. I've found that to be really helpful because some people are just, they don't have the personality to go and meet new people with different interests. So they need some help. So.
Understand? Alreza?
Tough question, but I will say when you're enjoying the time of the meeting with someone, not necessarily you're doing good. Because if you put yourself at a tough position, that you are a very awkward position because you try to put together connected dots, means you're learning from it. At the time of the meeting, at the time of gathering, if you're enjoying so much, you need to enjoy, don't get me wrong. But if you stay with your peer, the same person that's talking same language, most likely you're not going to build confidence in yourself. Get out of that comfort zone. Go meet someone that you feel you are at a very awkward position, but you want to be the person, and it's a complimentary for you. Then the joy is after that time, because you feel it, you made some progress. But when you feel that you're at the meeting and you're enjoying and you cheer over the drink, not necessarily that session or that event or that meeting can contribute to better future for you. You need to put yourself at the awkward position and then get result after that. If you're happy after that, is better than be happy at the time of the session.
Wonderful. Limi?
Yeah, I have 2 comments. Number one is that we went to the extreme to forcing people to say, this is a conference, you're not allowed to sit with your colleague, because force you to everyone you need to talk to. In conversation, one of them got to be customer, and that helps. But the other one I want to tell the Chinese is really that, you know, I'm so proud to be a Chinese, Taiwanese, but I'm also proud. I'm 30 here. I'm I'm American. I'm as American as any American here. So it's okay you feel comfortable with your colleague, but remember you need to embrace the mainstream because you're here, you're part of the big society, you need to be part of it. Once you encourage people to retain what they have, and then they can appreciate other cultures, and that would be helpful.
I found all what you mentioned, I would agree. I also noticed that some people seems to know that logically, but emotionally couldn't overcome that to reach out. Alreza, you reminded me of some of the situation. And I'd like to hear your opinion on this one. Just 2 weeks ago, I met someone from Taiwan, and I told him that since you are here for 3 months, like Li and everyone said, you're here to meet other people, not meeting other from Taiwan or mainland China only. So why don't you go gather the business card? Every week, say if you can gather 5 or 10 business cards, with a name definitely not Chinese, not even Asian. Do you think that kind of thing would be even more tangible and advice for them? Something like Li Ming, you said, don't sit down with our own colleagues there.
I would definitely say it's more tangible, and as a leader, I did that all the time at work. So whenever we would have a meeting at work, I would challenge my team to meet at least 2 new people, and especially when we were doing like sales conferences or user groups, do not sit together. You guys see each other all the time. Like your job is to be your own brand ambassador. What are you bringing to the table? And you're also representing our team and our company. So yes, giving someone that kind of challenge and something tangible so they can check that list and feel that dopamine rush of connection, right? And then be able to report back, everybody's stronger for it. So yeah, it makes it almost more safer because it's something you can do and know that you're doing it.
But Lisa, I do feel a little bit different. It used to be every quarter I had these boxes of business cards printed and go out to meetings and hand them out, right? Especially I remember when we first went to China, after a speech, it's like multiple spider legs coming to here in all directions asking for business cards. I think you vividly remember that. So, but at the end, you have so many business cards that you have not followed up with, and they're just there and you have not had the time to scan them. So later on, my feeling is maybe when I go to an event, hopefully I can have 3 on the top of the list I would like to keep in touch with down the road. So maybe share some of these thoughts. These are very different approaches. Yeah.
Yeah, so did you want me to comment back? Yeah. Oh my gosh, do I have in my lifetime a pile of business cards I've never followed up on, right? And then it's like, do you have shame over that? Or you're like, wow, I met these new people. Because they also got your card, and are they following up? So I just want to open that up and say it's both ways. And if you're an introverted engineer and you need something tangible to find the courage to step into that, go for the business card. If you're going to be back at work feeling crappy about yourself that you have 100 cards you've done nothing with, pick another way, right? But yes, and so over time, I actually stopped carrying business cards until recently, and I would connect with people on LinkedIn so I could at least send them a message. The other thing I've done is I've taken a picture. I'll say, let's take a selfie. I want to remember meeting you. And so you do whatever works for you. It's about the connection. Yeah, thank you for that comment.
So it's a great comment, but I think nowadays it's impractical to collect business card and hope that you can keep in communication with everyone. But I think it's a good start, right? You need to open up and you need to explore. But what I would encourage is that people, you need to develop more interest. So for example, if you bump into someone, for example, when I took my kids to join Boy Scouts, now you have a group of people, you go ski together, you do something together. It's supposed Rich is still collecting the coins. Then you find someone who collect coins. Now you have something common, can keep it going, because as Alicia said that, right, it's an interest. You need to develop interest so you can have a meaningful relationship with certain people going on, and which will broaden your horizon a lot.
Yeah, but the context of these questions, 2 things. When Larry and I talking about, when we're getting people from Taiwan, it bothers me that every day they have lunch together. Because there are 400 companies in one place. Why you should have lunch every day together? So, but we talk about it. This is why we are very friends, so this is why I'm sharing. But the other side of it, some people are not salespeople. You're not at the business of collecting the business card. You are at the business of building relationship. When I call Peter and ask him, Peter, this is a good company, let's do it together, that's based on our relationship. But how many of these business cards, how many Peters I know, it shouldn't be 1,000. You need to have 10, 20, 30 of Peters. So it's 2 different streams. One is, okay, you come here, you're new here, you need to extend your network because you're not going to leave forever. You need to build. And if you're comfortable where you are and you want to stay, you just come here as a tourist, that's different. Then you go, enjoy, and have lunch with your colleagues. But if you see your future here, and a global future, then you need to get out of your comfort zone.
Make one comment on that. I know that there's a lot of people who are very introverted and they find it difficult to start that conversation. And my piece of advice to you is talk about the subject that the other person cares most about, themselves. Ask them about them. You know, ask them what they do, where they come from. You know, get them talking about themselves. It's so easy to do that, right? And then it takes the pressure off you because all you got to do is ask the questions.
Wonderful suggestion. Well, Su Hong, what's your opinion? Back in China, you've been here for a few years. You see the difference there, like your colleague there in Dianping, Meituan, when they are there in China, their interaction versus they come abroad anywhere, say in the international conferences or business trip. Do you see the similar challenges there?
But if I may twist your question a little bit, Larry, is I looked at your LinkedIn. You're trained as an engineer, but you started out in your career doing marketing and sales and so on and so forth. You immediately got out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true. I mean, but I totally agree. So I'm an introvert. Yeah. So I'm not the very outgoing type. I think the one thing in China that's good is we don't do business card a lot right now. We use WeChat. So it's very environmental friendly, right? So that's very good. This is one comment. The second is there's nothing wrong to be an introvert, right? So it's a natural thing, right? So you just be what you are. But I totally agree with you. If you want to, you always have to push yourself out of the comfort zone, right? To meet more people. That's the one thing I mentioned. It's learning agility. So learning agility is it's not about how many books you read, right? How many papers you wrote. It's really about the how do you adapt to the new environment, right? To stay in the action. So so you have to push yourself. You have to train yourself. I think it is same. It's all same. No matter it's about the immigration, or start a new company, or grow a company, or being a big corporation. I think it's very similar. Yeah.
Peter, you got more question?
There's a new question from today's event rather than the one submitted beforehand. Is for each speaker, maybe share with the audience, and also I'm curious about your vision. What keeps you going today? Because a lot of you are already successful and financially independent and happy. What keeps you going? Why are you here today? What do you envision yourself for the next 10 years that keeps you going? Maybe, each one, feel free. Yeah, maybe start with Su Hong.
Yeah, the one things keep me going for the past 14 years. It's really, to be honest, it's not about the IPO. It's not about the money. The honesty is the value we create for the consumer. We are so proud. Whenever people talking about we use Dianping to find a very good restaurant in Tokyo, in Korea, in Japan, or even in US, we feel very proud of that.
But you have already left the company, right?
Just left, yeah.
Right.
What
So,
we
but
keep
I'm
here,
talking about the next
yeah.
10 years. You left the company.
Next 10 years, I
Yes.
think that's a very good question. I kept something secret, but anyway, one passion I have is right now, for the past few years, we really do support or invest some new project in China, right? I feel myself, one of the passion I have is to help those entrepreneurs to build up, to grow their business. And we support a few companies in China, in the area about the kids' education, in the area about the healthcare, and also the technology for the financial services in China. So I personally, it's not about the investment, how much return we can get. It's really about the journey, the help we can offer to these young companies. I think that's my question.
Good question. Yeah, it's not about money that driven myself at least, but you do need to return the money because the people that they are behind the money, they look for that. So we need to return the money good way. But what I see, there are two types of people. Some people are time driven. And not, a startup is not for everyone. A lot of people, you should not be part of a startup if you don't feel it that way. You should be part of big corporations because we need people for big corporations as well. But I see myself that people that they are time driven stay with the corporation for 4 years and feel when you're not learning, leave. Don't stay there more because you're loyal. Because that corporation is not going to be loyal to you. This is a capitalism. That corporation is not going to be loyal to you. Take care of yourself. As many as brand logo that you add to your LinkedIn, the better future that you will have. That's for the time-sensitive people that they don't have target goal to reach to this and this and this. Just time is their goal. Every 4 years, 5 years, don't try to be at one corporations more than the 4 years. And where the 4 come from, I will say, you guys have heard of vesting. Your stock get vested at the end of year 4. So don't stay more, leave.
I do have a counter argument for you, and that's my
Sure.
purpose here, right?
Yeah.
Whenever we look at entrepreneurs' resume, we really do not, or as a hiring manager, you really don't want to see someone jump ship every year.
100%.
Right. So
We
you
look
would like
at
to
that.
find someone at least at one point in time stick to a career opportunity for a duration of time, right?
100%. This is how we review your background without telling you. If you're jumping every 18 months from one place to another place, you're not going to build a startup. I'm telling you, we're going to say no to you, but we're not going to tell you why. When you stay 4 years, you have learned enough. Change the team, change the position, then you are somewhere. In myself, so I talked about the time sensitivity of that and you based on the time. But some other people are result-oriented people. You want to say, you know what, by this time should be part of it. I want to empower 200 companies. I want in 10 years to invest in 1% of the entire global market of the companies through our network. That's my goal, that's my dream. 10 years from today, I want us to be 1% owner of every single good company on this planet. If I don't shoot for that, we'll not get 100 good ones. But that has a time attached to it. At the same time, I know what I'm shooting. And I'm not saying I'm going to do it. The network should do it. Then the more people like you that I know, the better that we can do this.
Okay, so my company is being sold. So I have several things for the next 10 years, right? Number one, I just want to enjoy life and stay healthy. Okay. The second one is that I really love to help people and make a difference because I feel that even in the charity or I coaching a lot of the entrepreneur, I feel that if I see other people successful, I'm getting so much happiness. And number three, I think I'm a very curious person. I think I love to learn new things and continue to, I think just remain open. Who knows next big opportunity will come, I would jump into. I don't know, but I remain open.
Those are all good things. So, yeah, I think, as I mentioned during my talk, I am learning a lot right now in a new field, and that is healthcare. And so I hope I can continue to learn. I mean, there are incredible things in that space relating to AI and drug discovery, precision medicine. So I will continue to do that as a VC. But at some point, you know, the additional burdens of administering or managing the firm may take so much time that maybe I'll step back and then coach entrepreneurs based on the time availability that I have. And then I think at one point, I'd like to rent an RV and go to every single national park in every state.
So one comment about longevity with what Ali Reza was saying, as I mentioned, 20 years at Synopsys. The reason I stayed as long as I did is because I got to get promoted or get new opportunity every 18 to 24 months. I want to make that very clear because what they're talking about really matters. I did not sit in the same job. I went from corporate to field, up, down, sideways, sales, marketing, customer support, human resources, right? So I got my MBA inside, okay? And it's really important, really, really important for everybody to know that time in the job matters, and I completely agree with what they said. As far as what's next for me, as I mentioned, to take Jimmy's words, as I mentioned in my talk, I'm on a mission, and I'm very clear on this next phase in my life. My mission is to help leaders just like you be present for the moments that matter at work and at home, right? You being able to make the impact you want to have in your life, you being able to impact your customers and have the life that everyone's talking about is my mission, and I'm really hope you take advantage of that free gift that I offered. That's my gift to you, is really believing in what you guys are doing, and I'm thrilled to be on this journey. It's these next 10 years, I see wonderful things happening.
Thank you. Rich, you're going to make us all rich.
So, as I mentioned, I had some family health problems, so I took a couple years off, and I think that emphasizes the point that, health is the most important thing. If you don't take care of yourself, and sometimes bad things happen even if you're taking care of yourself, but that's become much more a priority in my life, not only to take care of the family, but to take care of myself. So I've been a ski bum and a mountain biking guy. I've skied 23 days so far this year and 41 last year, and so I'm doing a lot of skiing, a lot of mountain biking, rock climbing, running, and but now that my daughter is better and away at college, frankly, I miss the game. I love the game, and I say that with all sincerity. It's fun, it's addictive, it's great, and it's not about just playing a game. It's like building something. It's making the world a better place. And having been an entrepreneur and then a VC, I've seen both sides of it. So what I'm doing now is I'm working as an independent board member and advisor. I just became executive chairman of an AI company that's still in stealth mode, and working with a couple others, and just really, mentoring and counseling the founders of those companies. So I'm back in the game and loving it. Thanks.
Well, really appreciate everyone. I think due to our limited time, we have to call it a day. Let's give our speakers a big applause. Thanks for their honest share. And we also have appreciation, so all the speakers, please stay on the stage.
Now we have our president, Andrew Fan, to give the every single 主人要上台啊 give our wonderful speakers a token as our appreciation. First, we have the thank you, Mr. Lee Min-Hu. Thank you. Yeah, later we're gonna have group pictures. Next, we have Mr. Ye. Thanks. And later on, we're going to have some time for networking. Thank you, Mr. Liu. And thank you, Mr. Massaros. And thanks again for Mr. Rich Riddles. And the last not the least, thank you to the only lady on stage, Mr. Lisa Dorian. Thank you, and can I have an honor for our two other moderators on stage, so we're gonna have a group picture. Yeah, don't forget to collect the business cards before you leave, okay? Yes, and we have a Kim-Min, please. 谢谢，谢谢各位，今天真的很棒。Although you probably not listen to a lot of like AI, like a blockchain, but I think you have a really, really life learning experiences that's priceless. That's a thanks to them again. Can I have an honor to join you guys have another group pictures?